The United States is my cross. No, I'm not talking about me. Archbishop Marcel Lefebvre on August 16 of 1979 in a conference with myself, my parents, Father Boldig, and another seminarian who'd been thrown out in the scandal of December 15, 1978, which I'll discuss at some other time if anyone's interested. In any case, we, two seminarians, had a meeting concerning our dismissals from Armada. Archbishop Lefebvre had been made abundantly aware of the non-Catholic activities of Father Sanborn, Father Chicata, and Father Jenkins. And I could go into large detail on that. I won't, because but Archbishop Lefebvre knew all about that. We had a good hour-long conversation. Father Boldig translated from English to French and French back to English. Archbishop Lefebvre did speak English. He gave his sermon in '76 at St. Jude's Shrine in Stafford, Texas, in English. He preached in 1977 at Queen of Angels in Dickinson, Texas, in English. After that time, let's see, the next time I've seen him in America would have been in 1979 at the pilgrimage. He preached in French. Father Gerard Hogan translated English. In my conference in probably October of '78 with Archbishop Lefebvre, he met with each new student. He had a translator in, and he spoke in French. Okay, he was getting older. One doesn't blame him. But I'm sure he understood completely what's going on. We go through this long conference. He makes promises. The promises are transmitted in French that we would be allowed in any seminary, whatever. His last line, he switches to English. The United States is my cross. And let us consider this. What has the United States been for the Society of St. Pius X? I read an article on the SSPX website some time back that in about 1986, Lefebvre considered just shutting the whole society down in the United States. You can't blame him. Because if you take a look at the history of the Society of St. Pius X in the United States, what he said in '79, he'd already had a heck of a lot of trouble. Let us go back to the end of 1976. Father Anthony Ward started the seminary at Armada, Michigan. He built the dormitory church building, 16-room dormitory with a priest's room, full facilities, classroom, the whole 9 yards, and added on to the large farmhouse, which had also been a religious community sometime before, and then before the society had bought it. In any case, Father Anthony Ward started the seminary there. He had quite a few seminarians. I'm thinking, when I visited in '76, there were like a good 15 seminarians there, more or less. And so, at the end of '76, one of the seminarians was from Oklahoma City. He'd come home for Christmas vacation. Next thing you know, he's going back early to Armada. Within a week or two, we heard that Father Ward had left with all but 3 of the seminarians. He had left the society with a bunch of seminarians. I thought, why would you leave? Especially this one man from Oklahoma. Why leave? I mean, how's Ward supposed to get you ordained? I never did get a chance to talk to that man, ask him. I never saw him again, although his parents were in our society chapel and they didn't quit. So obviously they weren't advised to quit. Well, they did eventually quit when the chapel split, but that's another story. At the end of 1980, the Society of St. Pius X had 11 priests ordained by Lefebvre for the United States. that is, United States citizens ordained. This number would grow to 16 by March of 1983. In March of 1983, Lefebvre visited the United States and was presented with a letter from 9 of his priests complaining about problems in the Society of St. Pius X, and there were things to complain about. These include those who had dismissed me and who Lefebvre had been warned about. I know you read their stuff, they say that everyone says they were split with the Society over Sedevacantism. They were Sedevacantists. I just finished reading an article a while ago by Father Chicot. Said he was Sedevacantist when he was in Icone. Well, Icone wasn't Sedevacantist. Whatever. So that these people would go, okay, I'm a Sedevacantist, but I ain't saying anything until the Lefebvre lays his hands on my head. But let's return to the point. One of the main things they complained about, and this is one I found out about, and I've heard a few things about, is the story of a Mr. Philip Stark. And I'll quote from their letter, because they published it. Over the past few years, the Society has accepted the service of priests ordained by vernacular versions of the new rite of ordination of 1968. Stark was such a man. He was working with the Society in 1979. I only actually met him once, and I knew he was ordained new rite. I remember hearing about one of the conferences when this came up in 80, because I knew one of the priests that was in there. And Lefebvre reassured these 9 priests, well, they weren't 9 yet at the time, but some of the 9 that signed this letter were in this meeting. This priest I knew was in the meeting, and Stark came up. And Lefebvre assured the priest that his ordinary method of operation was conditional reordination of new rite ordinands. Then he turns immediately to Father Boldig, who brought in Stark. And Father Boldig brought in a lot of interesting men as priests. That's a whole other story. In any case, he said, of course we don't mean Father Stark. Well, that's a laxity about the new rite ordination, which I discussed in another video, which I posted. I have heard rumors that Lefebvre ordained at least one of the society priests in the very early days in the new rite of ordination. I have not been able to verify this. I mean, this is something I heard way back 30 years ago. I've gone online. I cannot verify it. When I looked at the name of the priest, or the man, because he wouldn't be a priest, it was new rite, it came up with an interesting story, but it had nothing to do with his ordination. It had something to do with something totally off in the left field, which is not important. Now, so with the 9 departing, he was immediately reduced to 7 American priests. Okay, in 1984, he ordained 4 more. 3 immediately left to join the 9. I think, in fact, I have heard they were told, lay low, get ordained, and come join us. They agreed with everything in the letter of the 9, but because they were only deacons, lay low, get ordination, then come join us. Such a betrayal, and that's a betrayal. Because I was thinking way back when a question came up on liturgy myself in 1980 at St. Mary's. If I cannot accept the positions of the Society of St. Pius X, I have to leave. Okay? If you're in a society, you've got to do everything, their public position, you've got to accept it. If you can't accept it, get the heck out. I don't care. In 1980, that went cutting off all possibility of ordination. These 3 said, I'm staying in, I'm getting hands laid on my head and ordained as a priest, then I'm out. Disgusting. This is a great scandal. And this is the epitome of what I call the ordination at all costs syndrome. And I don't believe they were the first. They're the most obvious. Two others also left in the early 1980s. I have heard rumors about both, but will not repeat them here. Both completely left the priesthood. That much I do know. Why? I don't know. I've attempted to contact one of them. The other one, from what I heard, I don't think I want to contact him. In any case. So, of the first 20 American society priests, by the mid-1980s, only 4 remained. 4 remained. That caused, that's when Lefebvre started bringing in a bunch of Frenchmen to fill the spots. There was big turmoil, I understand, in the society at the time. And in fact, the turmoil got so bad that another one of these 4, he left because of what was going on. So you could see why Lefebvre was thinking about shutting the society down about 86. I wish he had, and stopped the confusion, at least in the United States. True, the alternatives are no better. Traditionalism is all wrong. But I think this is part of the history of the society you don't hear. I remember reading an article by Father Anglais, like 25 years of the society in America. You read the first 10, 15 years or whatever, it's utter fiction. It's before Father Anglais even came to the United States. He's relying on reports possibly. But I'm reading this and I'm just laughing out loud. It's like, brother, that ain't what happened. I was there. And so, the United States may have been Lefebvre's cross because, although I disagree with the 9 on many points, when you read that letter, I kind of have to agree with almost every point in there. And so, yes, the United States may be a cross for a non-Catholic like Archbishop Lefebvre. Let us pray that the United States becomes a cross for a non-Catholic like Anti-Pope Francis, George Bergoglio.